देखिए, वीर माधो सिंह भंडारी उत्तराखंड टेक्निकल यूनिवर्सिटी जो 2005 में उत्तरांचल टेक्निकल यूनिवर्सिटी के रूप में स्थापित हुई थी, इसका उद्देश्य पूरे उत्तराखंड राज्य में तकनीकी एवं व्यावसायिक शिक्षा का प्रचार प्रसार के दृष्टिगत इसको किया गया था। तो इस प्रदेश के अंदर जो तकनीकी शिक्षा थी, उसको प्रदेश भर के छात्रों के लिए और जो आसपास के छात्र थे, उन सब तक पहुंचाने के लिए इस विश्वविद्यालय ने अपनी जिम्मेदारी निभाना शुरू किया। आज इस विश्वविद्यालय को 18 साल पूरे हो चुके हैं। 27 जनवरी 2005 को इसकी स्थापना हुई थी और इस विश्वविद्यालय के पास जितनी भी भारत की नियामक संस्थाएं हैं, उनके स्तर से जो पाठ्यक्रम नियमित होते हैं, जैसे ऑल इंडिया काउंसिल फॉर टेक्निकल एजुकेशन है, फार्मेसी काउंसिल ऑफ इंडिया है, काउंसिल ऑफ आर्किटेक्चर है और बार काउंसिल ऑफ इंडिया है, इनके पाठ्यक्रमों को संचालन करने की जिम्मेदारी इस विश्वविद्यालय की है। आज की जो हमारी एजुकेशन सिस्टम है, उसमें क्लासरूम में बहुत बड़ा चैलेंज है। वो चैलेंज ये है कि हम बच्चों के अंदर जो उनकी इंक्लूसिवनेस है, उसको हम यूटिलाइज नहीं कर पा रहे हैं। जो हमारी कंटेंट अवेलेबिलिटी है, जो हमारा ई कंटेंट है, जो हमारी इंटरनेट की जो व्यवस्था है, उसके अंतर्गत हमने पूरे विश्व की जितनी नॉलेज है उसको हमने इंटरनेट पर उपलब्ध करा दिया। तो कुछ पेड है, कुछ अनपेड है, लेकिन अवेलेबल सब कुछ है। तो इस प्रकार से जो अवेलेबिलिटी ऑफ नॉलेज है, जो क्यूरियोसिटी जिसके पीछे होती थी, वो कहीं ना कहीं हम उसको पहले ही किल कर देते हैं। देखिए, आज के समय में जो इंजीनियरिंग की एजुकेशन है, वो पूरे देश में एक बड़े चैलेंज के दौर से गुजर रही है। इस समय जो छात्रों का रुझान है, वो रोजगार को लेकर के, एम्प्लॉयमेंट को लेकर के इतना ज़्यादा हो गया है कि जो हमारी इंजीनियरिंग का जो बेसिक पर्पस था, जो इस आज हमारा जो टेक्नोलॉजिकल एडवांसमेंट हुआ है, इस टेक्नोलॉजिकल एडवांसमेंट में सभी विधाओं की बराबर की भूमिका है। लेकिन आज जो बच्चों में झुकाव है, वो सिर्फ कंप्यूटर के कोर्सेज हैं, उनकी तरफ ही हो गया है। इस प्रकार से यदि आप देखें तो बहुत बड़ा चैलेंज है पूरी इंजीनियरिंग एजुकेशन को, क्योंकि हम पूरी ह्यूमन रिसोर्स को कंप्यूटर सेंट्रिक नहीं बना सकते। हमारे को इस पूरे सिविलाइजेशन को सस्टेनेबल बनाने के लिए ये बहुत जरूरी है कि हमारे पास अच्छे सिविल इंजीनियर भी हों, जो कि इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर की रिक्वायरमेंट्स को पूरा कर सकें, अच्छे इलेक्ट्रिकल इंजीनियर भी हों, जो कि एनर्जी सेक्टर की और जो एनर्जी की रिक्वायरमेंट है उसको मीट आउट कर सकें, अच्छे मैकेनिकल इंजीनियर भी चाहिए, जो कि हमारे मैन्युफैक्चरिंग प्रोसेसेस हैं उनको उत्कृष्ट कर सकें, और जो भी निर्माण होने हैं, जो इंजीनियरिंग एप्लीकेशंस हैं, उनके बारे में जो अवस्थापना सुविधाएं हैं, जो आधारभूत इक्विपमेंट की रिक्वायरमेंट है, इस प्रकार की आवश्यकताओं को पूरा कर सकें। और हमें जो उत्कृष्ट मस्तिष्क है, उनको हमें इंजीनियरिंग की बाकी विधाओं में भी उसी अनुपात में उपलब्ध कराना होगा, अन्यथा इस सभ्यता को सस्टेनेबल बनाने में, इस सिविलाइजेशन को सस्टेनेबल रखने में एक बहुत बड़ी चुनौती है। देखिए, जो इंजीनियरिंग की जो पढ़ाई है, उस पढ़ाई के दो कंपोनेंट्स हैं। एक कंपोनेंट हो गया क्लासरूम का और एक हो गया लैबोरेटरी का। और इन सब के बीच जो सबसे महत्वपूर्ण कंपोनेंट है, वो है एक जो हमारा इकोसिस्टम है, यानी कि जो टीचर्स हैं, जो एम्बियंस है, जो उनका एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन है, इन सब के अंदर इन सारी चीजों को लेकर के बड़ी गंभीरता होनी चाहिए कि ये बहुत ही एक ऐसी अपॉर्चुनिटी है हम सब के पास कि हम अपनी जो यंगर जनरेशन है उसको इतना कैपेबल बना सकते हैं कि वो आगे की जो भी चुनौतियां हैं उनको अपने स्तर से उनको हैंडल कर सकें और अपना कंट्रीब्यूशन दे सकें। तो जो बच्चों के अंदर जो हम कैपेबिलिटी डालने की बात करते हैं, उसमें संसाधन बहुत बड़ी अड़चन नहीं है। संसाधन की आवश्यकता जरूर है, लेकिन वो ऐसा नहीं है कि बिना संसाधन नहीं है तो हम कुछ नहीं कर सकते। पहले अगर हम सेल्फ लर्निंग मोड में बच्चे को मोटिवेट कर सकें उसमें जाने के लिए, तो वो बहुत सारी चीजों को अपने स्तर से भी सीख लेगा। देखिए, परीक्षा के दौरान जो हमारी विशेष करके जो हमारा उत्तराखंड है, उस उत्तराखंड राज्य में भौगोलिक परिस्थिति ऐसी है कि संस्थाओं को एक दूसरे पहुंचने में रोड ट्रेवल काफी टाइम कंज्यूमिंग होता है। तो इसके अंतर्गत विश्वविद्यालय द्वारा एक डिजिटाइजेशन की प्रक्रिया परीक्षा संचालन में स्थापित की गई है और विश्वविद्यालय ने प्रश्न पत्रों के मुद्रण की कार्यवाही बंद कर दी है। विश्वविद्यालय डिजिटल मोड में प्रश्न पत्रों को विश्वविद्यालय से सभी संस्थाओं जो परीक्षा केंद्र होते हैं वहां तक प्रेषित करता है। ये डिजिटली इनक्रिप्टेड फॉर्म में क्वेश्चन पेपर का ट्रांसमिशन एक एफिलिएटिंग यूनिवर्सिटी के रूप में शायद इस विश्वविद्यालय का एक अभूतपूर्व प्रयास है, जिसके द्वारा हमारी संस्थाओं को अपने परीक्षा केंद्र पर ही रहते हुए प्रश्न पत्र उनके सेंटर पर उपलब्ध हो जाता है। परीक्षा की नियति समय से पहले
that
थोड़ी
you
देर
have to
पहले उसको
approach
उनका
them
पासवर्ड दे दिया
directly,
जाता है और वो पेपर
and
को
they are
अपने
very
यहाँ
busy
डाउनलोड करके
people.
प्रिंट कर
So
लेते हैं।
I
और इसी के साथ में जो
generally
परीक्षा
read their
केंद्र है
work and
उसकी पूरी निगरानी
assimilate
करने के लिए
whatever
सभी
is
परीक्षा कक्षों
appropriate
में
in the right
सीसीटीवी कैमरे की
context.
व्यवस्था
So
की गई
that's
है और
the
उसको अभी
extent
हम
of my
आगामी
connection.
सत्रों से
Okay.
उसको हम आईपी
Yeah,
पे
yeah.
कैप्चर करके
And it's
विश्वविद्यालय में भी जो कंट्रोल रूम
rather
बनाएंगे
difficult
उसमें
to
उसकी
engage
निगरानी करने
them
की व्यवस्था
because
की जा रही है।
first of
ये
all they are
सारा
very
प्रयास इस
busy,
बात को
not
लेकर के है कि
accessible,
छात्र
and they
छात्राओं
don't
के
come
अंदर
on
इस बात का एहसास होना
a
चाहिए कि
convenient
परीक्षा
time for
एक
India,
बहुत ही पवित्र प्रक्रिया
because
है।
they would not join very late at night or whatever.
विश्वविद्यालय से
जी.
संबद्ध जितनी भी
You have the
संस्थाएं हैं
daytime, yeah.
इनमें जो
So we
प्लेसमेंट
can
की एक्टिविटी है
make a
उस
session
प्लेसमेंट की
for
एक्टिविटी
suppose
को
1
बढ़ाने के
hour
लिए
for
सभी
them,
संस्थाओं के
especially
स्तर से भी
in the
प्रयास
same
किए जा रहे
time
हैं
which is
और
comfortable to
विश्वविद्यालय में
them.
भी एक ट्रेनिंग एंड
We
प्लेसमेंट
can
सेल
make
का
our
गठन किया
students
गया है
You have
और
to
इस प्रकार का
approach
एक
them
मोबाइल ऐप भी
directly.
विश्वविद्यालय द्वारा
I
तैयार
have no
करके
clue. Yeah,
प्रचालित
I
किया गया
don't
है।
have
इस
any
मोबाइल
contact
ऐप
as
के
well.
द्वारा जो हमारे
Okay, sir.
इंटर्नशिप हैं उनकी जो इंडस्ट्रीज़ हैं जो अपॉर्चुनिटी देती हैं उनको उस पर पॉपुलेट किए जाने का प्रावधान है और साथ साथ में जितने हमारे डायरेक्टर्स हैं और ट्रेनिंग प्लेसमेंट ऑफिसर्स हैं इन सभी को इसके अंदर इंटीग्रेट कर दिया गया है और बहुत जल्दी ही इस ऐप के माध्यम से जो हमारे छात्र छात्राएं हैं उनको विभिन्न विषयों में जो इंटर्नशिप की हैं अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ मिलने लगेंगी। इसी में प्लेसमेंट के साथ साथ में उच्च शिक्षा के अवसर भी विश्वविद्यालय को उपलब्ध कराने चाहिए और विश्वविद्यालय ने अपने पाठ्यक्रम में जो नई शिक्षा नीति है उसके अनुरूप कुछ परिवर्तन भी किए हैं जिसमें कि बीटेक के बाद बच्चों को सीधे 1 साल की अवधि में एमटेक की डिग्री लेने के लिए एक प्रावधान भी किया गया है और ये सत्र 2022-23 से ही इसको प्रारंभ किया गया है और जो बच्चे हमारे उच्च शिक्षा में जाना चाहते हैं उनको विश्वविद्यालय में जो संस्थाएं हैं उनमें एमटेक के लिए भी अवसर उपलब्ध हो सकेंगे। सो प्लेसमेंट, इंटर्नशिप और हायर एजुकेशन तीनों वर्टिकल्स पे यूनिवर्सिटी के इनिशिएटिव्स उस पर तैयारी चल रही है और जल्दी ही इसके परिणाम दिखने लगेंगे।
Sir, we are going live now.
Good evening to all. I am Wajahat, Assistant Professor, Department of CSC from JB Institute of Technology. Welcome back to all the dignitaries, my dear professional colleagues and lovely students. Today's session is on time management. A short introduction regarding this session. In this interactive session, Dr. Vorasa will discuss about effective time management. We will learn how can we improve time management skills, why time management is an important skill, why is daily planning important, what are the principles of time management. Now, I would like to request Dr. Sandeep Chaudhary sir to read the profile of our guest, Dr. Manu Vora sir. Dr. Sandeep Chaudhary sir.
Thank you, Vajahaji. It is an honor and prime privilege for me also to introduce our speaker, a renowned academician, experience a lot among us, Professor Dr. Manu Bora sir. Dr. Manu Bora is Chairman and President of Business Excellence Inc., a global quality management consulting firm. He has over 48 years of leadership experience and has guided Fortune 500 companies with well-grade performance excellence assessment. For over 30 years, as an assistant professor, he teaches operations management course at business school globally. He has contributed at over 680 educational institutions worldwide. He is a sought after speaker on business excellence and quality management topics with over 1,270 presentations globally in 36 countries across 5 continents and published over 75 scholarly articles. He has published over 50 blogs posts on quality management. Professor Bora has given 2 TEDx talk in ITBHU and IT Chicago since 2013. He has delivered soft skill and quality management topic using technology to over 680 colleges, university globally, benefited over 1.2 million students, faculties, professionals. In 2016, he delivered a project management for organizational excellence, a joint course approved by MHRD, Government of India. Now it is Department of Education at his alma mater ITBHU. In 2016, he was appointed as Fulbright specialist by the US Department of State and complete his first Fulbright specialist project at ITBHU in March 2018. Professor Bora have many experience concerned with this. As the education qualification and background of Professor Bora, he has BTech honors from ITBHU, Chemical Engineering, in 1968, MS in 1970, and PhD in 1975 in Chemical Engineering from Illinois Institute of Technology, Chicago, and an MBA in 1985 with Marketing Management from Keller Graduate College School of Management in Chicago. As the founder, director, and president of Blind, uh, Blind Foundation for India, BFI, he and his team has raised over 6 million to help over 2 million visually inspired adult and children in India. A really very remarkable work you did and your team is doing for the member and students and children of India. He received NRI of the Year award in 2018, and from the Times Now and ICICI Bank in Mumbai, India. He served as AICTE NEP 2020 Implementation Panel Committee in 2020. As the profile of Dr. Vora concerned, the renowned speaker with us, Dr. Vora has received 60 awards and honors for his outstanding profession and services, including full brain specialist appointed by US and Department of State. I have many more achievements as we showing in our slide in name of Professor Bora. We welcome you, sir, in the session, in the third session of this soft skill development program. The highlight of this program, I give you a 1 minute quick revise recap of this sessions that we already conducted. The first session is conducted by Professor Bora. The topic is Leadership Excellence on Monday, 24th April 2023, in which Professor Bora highlighted many major aspects of leadership and its excellence, and leadership as a coach, leadership values, and tipping points of leadership. Many more points that he highlighted in his leadership concern. In the second session, Professor Bora has delivered a very important concern and nowadays is very much demanded: effective decision making, how the students can make effective decision. That session is delivered by Professor Bora on 27 April 2023, in which he make or give us a very important highlights about professional decision making and personal decision making, and he shared the various his experience regarding this decision making concern and how to make the decisions meaningful. He shared very important slide in that, and he shared his decision making model that gives us a very important aspects of scientific, ethical, economical, and political experience in this concern. The very important topic for today, effective time management. There's a very important topic that we have, and nowadays everybody need that how they have to manage their time. Now, not taking so much of time, I am requesting our speaker, academician, and the very much known person, Professor Dr. Manu Bora sir, to start his presentation. Sir, I request please.
Okay, so good evening to everyone. Thank you, Dr. Sandeep Kumarji, for a kind introduction. Thanks to Vajadji, Sanjay Kumarji, and welcome to the registrar, Dr. Singh, all the directors, the principal, faculty, and students who have joined. And this is actually a global audience. We have a friend joining from Indonesia, also from Dubai, and some from USA have joined. So welcome to everyone, and different time zones. So good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. So today's topic is highly relevant. So let's begin with a short story. So think about a train pulling into Dehradun railway station at a stipulated time of 11 o'clock in the morning. Everybody is very happy that the train came at the designated time. They all rush with a garland to welcome the engineer and the guardsmen. They accepted the flowers and everything, but softly mentioned that we are on time at 11 o'clock, but we are here one day late. So that is the story of time management. If we promise somebody that we are going to deliver a task or a subtask or an activity to be completed by a certain time, we must do everything possible to complete it and help in the continuation of the project and help the rest of the team members. So, just to show the connection in the context of project management, we begin with the leadership excellence, day one, where we mentioned that in order for a project to succeed, all the leadership qualities must be in place on the in the project manager, project leader. Then that person will make right decisions to engage the different people with a variety of skills needed to solve the problem for which the project was chartered. Now, then the task and subtask are assigned based on the strengths and areas of interest. Now comes the next part, how to get things done. And this is where time management plays a very critical role, that within the allocated time, how do you make use of the resources to complete your task and subtask, and collectively members of the team pull it together to achieve the completion of the project within time, within budget, and meet the performance objectives. So it's a all related items and synergistic. So let's begin the journey in time management. And we have a couple of nice YouTube, so you will all enjoy that. So the roadmap is, we'll quickly recap the feedback from session 2. And then I'll share at the highest level what time management is all about, ultimately leading to how to get things done. A few simple time management quotes, more like an icebreaker. Share with you the myths of time management, internal and external time wasters, very important things to remember, so that with the awareness we can manage our time better and don't fall into the trap of those time wasters. Interestingly, we will look at the right brain versus left brain domain and see how it affects how you manage your time. Then the key components of time management are setting the goal, plan your time, prioritize your activities, do proper scheduling, and biggest issue is managing the meeting, which takes away a lot of time around the world. Then how do you organize yourself, when to delegate, how to say no, how to handle interruptions, how to avoid procrastination, and where possible, have the collaboration with other members within the organization. And then we'll summarize the time management topic. And as before, my sincere request is, please note down 2 key takeaway which you are taking out of the session. And that's what we will discuss at the end and in between, questions, comments, and at least 1 key takeaway from various people who are on the call. So just to go back to the effective decision making, overall the session received 100% satisfaction, very satisfactory combined. So thank you. In terms of learning new skills, 97.3% on the satisfaction side, and application of those new skills, again 97.3%. So very good feedback and very happy about it. Both the YouTube recording of the previous sessions are shown here, and this presentation will be eventually put up on a soft skill program page within the Uttarakhand Technical University website. I just spoke with VC Dr. Onkar Singh ji yesterday, and plans are underway to create that page for permanent record. Now, effective decision making will quickly summarize. Remember, AMA, ability will determine what you are capable of doing. Motivation will determine how you do it, but it's the attitude that will determine how well you do it. So everybody wants to do something, but the person who does it well ultimately comes out ahead. So have the right attitude. Engage three H's: heart, the emotions; head, the ideas and logic; and hands, the implementation. Leadership ability is to translate the vision into action and action into next level of vision for decisive decision making. And ethical decision making is extremely essential for success of any individual and organization. And we all need to decide to be lifelong learners. And that's a decision we have to make and then follow through with it. So let's start how to get things done. So I learned the time management technique almost 60 years ago when I joined the campus of Banaras Hindu University in 1964. And I'll talk a little bit about it. But after completing my graduate work and transitioning at AT&T Bell Labs, first thing I did was took a one-day course on how to get things done, and this was in 1984, almost 40 years ago. And in that one-day program, I learned about managing the time by understanding how to set the goal, how to plan, schedule, prioritize, how to make decisions, how to say no, organize, manage interruptions, managing meeting, avoid procrastination, do delegation as appropriate, and collaborate with others in the organization. So those learnings, 40 years ago, professional one-day course, and 60 years ago when I joined IIT BHU, not IIT at that time, but Banaras Hindu University, I had 13 subjects in the year I joined, 9 months window, no semesters, one time exam only, final exam. And if a person doesn't clear a given subject, he or she has to step back, mainly he. At that time, we only had men, not any women in the program. So I developed a habit that in the first 8 months, I'll finish all my studies by taking one chapter from a given course at a time and keep moving through all 13 subjects, chapter one first, one at a time, and keep marching towards the end to complete everything by the end of the 8th month. 9th month, I would not study and have a very good notes created, solved previous 10 years question papers. They were all included in the individual course notebook. And I was happy to share that with my friends and help them to pick up on a few things which they may have missed. So this allowed me to manage the time in a very effective way by going through the material once, and I had a very good memory. So all I needed to do was study the material once, and then it will come back at the time of exam and able to solve difficult problems. So managing time, it's a 60 years gift I received from Banaras Hindu University, and it has served me well both professionally and personally. So let's begin with a very simple YouTube, very effective, the value of time. So I'll stop sharing and go back to the tab where things are lined up, YouTube, and we'll enjoy that excellent YouTube. So, very powerful video about the importance of understanding the value of time. And if we all take it seriously, our life will be a little bit simpler because we are required to do more and more in the complex world as we go forward, do more with less time. That means you have to really understand how to use time you have, and everybody has the same fixed time, 24 hours. Taking out time for sleep, food, and other activities, social thing. While you are at work, you definitely have to make use your time very, very effective way. So back to presentation, and we'll have some time for interaction very soon. So we'll begin with some simple time management quotes. Uh, so Ralph Waldo Emerson tells us this time, like all time, is a very good one if we but know what to do with it. St. Francis of Assisi says, start by doing what is necessary, then what is possible, and suddenly you are doing the impossible. Next one is it's a tongue in cheek. I'm definitely going to take a course on time management just as soon as I can work it into my schedule, and which may or may not happen. Sports coach is talking about time is free, but it is priceless. You cannot own it, but you can use it. You can't keep it, but you can spend it. Once you have lost it, you can never get it back. Sant Kabir told us, Kal kare so aaj kare so ab, pal mein pralay ho jaye hoegi, bahuri karoge kab. So essentially, don't do any procrastination. Get it done as quickly as you can. Now, here are some myths of time management. People think it's a very complex subject. No, not true. The basic process has major 5 steps: goal setting, planning, prioritizing, scheduling, and organizing. Other thing, we think that doing the activity is good in itself. So actions are needed, but the focus should be on the results. If you keep spending your time on low priority item, outcome will not be as you expected. So focus on the important items and don't keep wasting your time in the trivial things or non-priority or low priority items. Important to remember 80-20 rule of time management. There is a disproportionate relationship between input and output. That is, there is an imbalance. Your 20% of the effort will generate 80% of the results. So you need to really focus your time on those 20% of important things you need to accomplish so that your impact is the most appropriate and it gives you 80% of the results. And that's what is expected for you to deliver. Now we are going to go through several of these internal time wasters, and this is under our control. So if I am not disciplined, I will be waiting for something to come up, and I will waste away my time. If I cannot make a decision what to work on, time is slipping away. If I am disorganized, I cannot find the piece of paper in the stacks of things happening all over on my table, then my time is wasted in looking for that piece of paper. If I keep postponing things to do, then that doesn't help me because issue doesn't go away. We all have a tendency to take on more things than we are capable of delivering. So we need to learn when to say no when you are tied up fully and you have zero time to take on any additional request from your peers, from the bosses, etc. And you need to be very polite and straightforward why you are not able to tackle it at that point. poor delegation skills. So if you have people reporting to you, you need to start developing them, and we'll review these items very soon. Now, if I am at a workplace, but I'm thinking about something else, maybe thinking about a vacation, that daydreaming doesn't help me serve the organization. And when you worry too much, all it does is builds up the stress, doesn't help you to manage your time. So these are some of the internal time wasters. You need to be aware about them. Is taking away your time from doing important activities for the organization, for yourself. Here are the external time wasters. You are in the middle of something and people just come in and they interrupt you. Also, the email and messages, SMS keep coming throughout the day. So if you get distracted every time a message comes in or an email has come in, then you lost your focus and you are not able to complete the work which you are supposed to be delivering at the end of the day. A lot of time spent at the coffee time or tea break time. Instead of 10, 12 minutes, it becomes half an hour to a 1 hour affair. Next item we are going to elaborate quite a bit. It's the curse throughout the world where lots and lots of time is taken away in unproductive meetings. So we'll focus on that and learn something, what needs to be done. Unscheduled visitors will pop in at their own time without informing you, and that takes away time to take care of things for them. If the work environment is not good, then your time is wasted. When your supervisor or manager has not given you very clear goals, you are wondering which one to tackle and what that goal really means. So you need to clarify and set the expectation. When you need to get somebody else's help to complete your work, plan ahead of time. Don't wait until the last minute. If the and all organization have some sort of bureaucracy and that red tape comes in the way for managing your time, and there could be few other factors you can think of. So as we saw in these last two slides, there are many internal time wasters and external time wasters. We need to be really cognizant about them and make sure that we don't get sort of trapped into those areas which not helping us managing our time. So we are open for quick comment and questions on the material we have covered so far. So anyone who has a question or a comment, please come in. Through the chat box is the best way. That way I can read the question and answer it to the best of my ability. So we have one question already in. Sudeepa Samanta. I do make a schedule, but always fail to follow through how to handle it. So this is the item coming up very shortly. So we will go into more discussion on that. But the key is to make a realistic schedule, making sure that you allocated the proper amount of time for each activity. Then you have prioritized those activities and put the highest priority item at the top. If you have two high priority items and if you finish it for the day for which it was targeted, then you have done well. The low priority items not completed, it can keep on moving from day 1 to day 2 to day 3, etc. But ensure that the prioritization is done and highest priority sits at the top and you tackle that first. That's how one way to manage your time. Next set of questions, please put it in the chat box, please.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, go ahead, Sandeep Kumarji.
Sir, as you shared your two slides, very important slide, internal time wasters and external time wasters. In both of the slide, I feel the slide number 1, is very much powerful, that in which you mentioned some 6 7 points on internal time wasters. These are the very important and major key concern in which the many of us waste our time.
Mhm.
So how we have to means get out of it in reference to internal time wasters, and how internal and external time wasters are somehow connected if somewhere. So how to get rid of this, both of them?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think one of the simple thing in problem solving we need to keep in mind that it all begins with the awareness. Once you are aware that there is an issue, then you can do something about it. So the action is in your hand. If you feel that you are required to finish two important items for the day, you allocated your time, made the schedule, you have started working on it, and all of a sudden either the internal or external time waster pops in. Kindly go on a mute, everyone who are joining. Please stay on a mute. Thank you. And we'll take the question from Pawan Kawarji in a second. But stay
Uh,
muted at the moment. Stay
sir,
muted.
if
Thank you. One question at a time. So, as I was saying, your time is focused. You are working on an important item. Interruptions, either internal, which is under your control, or external, pops in. At that time, you just have to be honest with yourself and not to get trapped into that time waster, and address that issue in a best possible way by without wasting any time, and continue to focus on the work under your consideration, and make sure that you conclude the items you are working on, which is very much needed to be delivered at the end of the day, and your results will help others to take that as an input and move forward with their work. So it's the focus, also your ability to control where you want to spend time and how you want to manage it. It depends on you only. Nobody else can do it for you. Both internal and external time wasters are interconnected. One leads to the other. First one, you have a total control. Second one, you may not have the control, but you can still manage to make it under your control and handle it in a tactful way. So that would be my short answer to your question, Sandeep Kumarji.
Thank you, sir. Very much means productive and promising answer from your side. Thank you so much.
Sure. So Pawan Kumarji, can you put down your question in the chat box? Pawan Kumar Bakshi, please. Okay, there is a person which raised the hand. Can you put your question in the chat? That will be easier for me to read and answer it properly. Okay, Pawan Kumarji, either you can put it in your chat box, or if you want to open your microphone one at a time, yeah, please go ahead.
sure, sir. Just open my microphone, sir. If
Sure.
we have inefficient staff, how
Hmm.
to manage the time, and that is a problem, and we have to work with that.
Yeah. So first of all, you need to give them a high-level training in time management. And today's module is very simple. It applies to all levels of people within the organization. Either you are a student, faculty, administration, working at different level, any domain, all domains. So giving the simple training and making them aware how they can be more effective and efficient. That's number one. Secondly, if something is not working, have a one-on-one conversation to try to find out where things are getting stuck and help the person to grow. Come out of that by giving constructive feedback. And that's how people grow, when you tell them that they are not doing something right. And here is one way to improve upon it. they will definitely get benefit. And most of the people are willing to take on the new feedback, provided you are patient with them, have ability to talk to them, and rather than keep ordering, sit down with them one on one and learn what is happening, why it's happening, and what is coming in the way. And this is how you develop your people. Rather than blaming them, give them resources, make them to stand on their own feet, and you just watch out. They will do wonderful things for you when you have given them the right resources, you've developed them, you've given them enough directions at the high level, what is expected of them, and how they can go about doing it using proper time management techniques, and then wait for good results. That will be my take on it. One more comment or questions, and then we'll keep moving. We have material to cover. Okay, somebody from local question.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening.
I'm Dr. G.K. Kapil from Chamanlal Law College, sir. I have a question. Sir, if we have multiple goals at one time, then most probably we get puzzled to set out our priorities. Will you please give some clues to set out our priorities at the time when we have multiple goals at one time? That will be helpful for me, sir.
Sure. And this is coming up in the next few slides on the goal setting. So we'll go into more depth there. But at the highest level, when you are setting your goals, what you need to do is understand what is the most important thing. So prioritization is important. If you have 3 or 4 items you are going to be working on for that day, what is the most important item you need to tackle, and that for which you are expected to deliver. So that prioritization you have to do. And once you've done the prioritization, allocate the proper time to tackle it. And once you are done with it, go to the next important items you have put it on the prioritized list. Keep in mind, you cannot work on 2 things at one time. And it's one thing you take, finish it, and then move on to the next important things. And that's how you manage your time. So they always say people do multitasking, they are doing many things, but you have to do one thing at a time, finish it, and then move on. I hope that makes sense. And then we'll go into a little bit more depth on the prioritization and goal setting coming up very quickly. And there is a simple model we'll share how do we set the goal using SMART criteria. Okay, in the interest of time, okay, go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Question. Are you okay with that? Okay, I'm going back to the presentation. Allow me to take care of it. So here is a concept about right brain and left brain. So people who have an artistic tendency, they are the right brain people. They have the ability to see options at every turn, and for them it's rarely black or white. They can see the gray area, and for them the time flows in a polychromic manner with many things happening simultaneously. Most of the engineers and technical people like me and others who are here on the call and joined, we are the left brain people. We see things either as a black or a white, very little in the gray area. And for us, the time flows in a monochromic order. Do one thing and then go on to another thing to tackle. Now, there is no right or wrong things. This is how your brain is wired. I started out 100% left brain. Over the years, I've come in the middle, so I'm not a right brain or not a left brain 100%. I'm now trying to do the balance as much as possible in the last 50 plus years. So very important question about the goal setting. So you want to set the goal in the context of managing your time, use the formula SMART. I'm sure all of you have seen this, but you can apply this for time management goal setting: specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time based. All five criteria must be met in order for you to set a SMART goal. And when you have the SMART goal and you start working on it, you will be addressing specific item, you will be able to measure you achieved it or not, and keep it in a achievable range, not so high bar that you cannot complete it. Should be realistic, and you have a limited time, so it should get done within the time allocated. So if you are throwing a dart, you want to hit the bullseye in the yellow zone, and one has to set and achieve the time management goals. So this is the first exercise in managing your time. Now, in terms of the planning, I want to bring up Dr. Deming's cycle. Dr. Deming, along with Dr. Juran, we mentioned very briefly, they were sent to Japan for rebuilding their industrial economy after World War II. And Dr. Deming has given a beautiful planning circle or cycle: plan, do, study, and act. So 10% excellent plan is required. Then you have to roll up the sleeve, and 90% flawless execution through do, study, and act. And that will bring you closer to managing your time and achieving completion of the important items. Also understand that planning without execution is futile, but the execution without planning could be fatal. And a brief comment: at the India scene, we need to do better at the planning level. A lot of time things happen at the last minute. People get sort of lax, and they assume things will fall in place all the time. Not so. Unless you plan, you are most likely to fail at some point in time. So planning is very critical. So in terms of planning, you need to visualize the end result, your goal at the end of the day. If you manage your time by doing proper planning, what will you have accomplished? Take the time to use the project management technique to take the whole important task or a subtask and break it down at the level where you can work on it, and estimate the proper time required, schedule it, continue to check your progress against the time you have estimated to complete it. And as you go forward, continue to refine the schedule based on the results you are seeing. And always remember that Uncle Murphy is always there. When you don't expect trouble, trouble will hit you. In other words, anticipate and allow for possible problems. And as we saw, 10% excellent plan is only successful when you have a 90% flawless execution. And if you fail to plan, you are planning for a failure. And plan your work and continue to work your plan. Simple but very effective guidance on planning your time management area. Prioritizing, this is again very important aspect. We saw this thing in the effective decision making area. 4 buckets: things you have to do, you put it in the do bucket; things you can delegate to others within the team who are working with you based on their level of interest and their ability to get it done and do it tactfully. Develop your people. Things you have to do but you can't get to it, you put it in delay basket. Write it down on yellow sticky paper. Say within a week I'll come back to it. When the time comes, finish it, and you're moving on. And a lot of things coming your way should go into the dump basket. So managing your time in a prioritized fashion with these 4 buckets will free you up from the clutter. Rather than looking at everything, you only look at your do bucket, delegate bucket, a few items you are going to delegate to someone, tell them what is expected of them, what's the time frame, and set up time in between to review the progress, because at the end of the day, that activity and results have to be accomplished, and you are responsible for it at the end of the day. Item you have delayed, come back and do it, and things you don't need to worry about, throw it away. So prioritizing requires focus on the important things first. Also, sometimes you have firefighting or the urgent things coming your way. Get rid of them very quickly as you can and accomplish what you can early, which will give you confidence to keep moving. So for prioritizing, we can take a look at the Eisenhower box. On the y-axis, important or not important. On the x-axis, urgent or not urgent. So the most important item to remember is the quadrant 1. Important but not urgent things. You want to schedule the time for it and get it done. 90 to 95% of your time in quadrant 1, top right. 5 to 10% in the top left, important and urgent item. Get it done and don't keep wasting your time on firefighting things. Bottom, not important, urgent and not important, not urgent, those two quadrants, there should not be any or all any time spent on it, because that's very unproductive. So prioritizing will require developing your plan, and I don't know how many of you make it, but suggestion is to have a annual plan, monthly plan, weekly plan, and each plan should have a definite deadline on the plan. Now, there was a question about making a daily checklist, and this is very important. It will work well when you prioritize and reprioritize your daily list by putting the most important item first, not the most urgent and not the trivial item, because once you start working on trivial things, time has gone, and by the time you come to the important items, you do not have time left to finish it that day. So important to work on the most important things first. 1 or 2 items sitting at the top of the daily schedule to-do list. And I always do this night before. What are the 1 or 2 key things I need to accomplish next day? And it's that list is in front of me. So when I start my day, I tackle those items first, get it out of the way, and then I have a list of less important items. If I can get through it, great. If not, it's okay. And remember to focus on outcomes, not just actions. So now we have a simple YouTube on time management in the context of machine learning, and how do the programmers use the time and manage it. So let me come back to the video here. It's aligned.
In the summer of 1997, NASA's Pathfinder spacecraft landed on the surface of Mars and began transmitting incredible, iconic images back to Earth. But several days in, something went terribly wrong. The transmissions stopped. Pathfinder was, in effect, procrastinating, keeping itself fully occupied, but failing to do its most important work. What was going on? There was a bug, it turned out, in its scheduler. Every operating system has something called the scheduler that tells the CPU how long to work on each task before switching, and what to switch to. Done right, computers move so fluidly between their various responsibilities, they give the illusion of doing everything simultaneously. But we all know what happens when things go wrong. This should give us, if nothing else, some measure of consolation. Even computers get overwhelmed sometimes. Maybe learning about the computer science of scheduling can give us some ideas about our own human struggles with time. One of the first insights is that all the time you spend prioritizing your work is time you aren't spending doing it. For instance, let's say when you check your inbox, you scan all the messages, choosing which is the most important. Once you've dealt with that one, you repeat. Seems sensible, but there's a problem here. This is what's known as a quadratic time algorithm. With an inbox that's twice as full, these passes will take twice as long, and you'll need to do twice as many of them. This means 4 times the work. The programmers of the operating system Linux encountered a similar problem in 2003. Linux would rank every single one of its tasks in order of importance, and sometimes spent more time ranking tasks than doing them. The programmer's counterintuitive solution was to replace this full ranking with a limited number of priority buckets. The system was less precise about what to do next, but more than made up for it by spending more time making progress. So with your emails, insisting on always doing the very most important thing first could lead to a meltdown. Waking up to an inbox 3 times fuller than normal could take 9 times longer to clear. You'd be better off replying in chronological order or even at random. Surprisingly, sometimes giving up on doing things in the perfect order may be the key to getting them done. Another insight that emerges from computer scheduling has to do with one of the most prevalent features of modern life: interruptions. When a computer goes from one task to another, it has to do what's called a context switch, bookmarking its place in one task, moving old data out of its memory, and new data in. Each of these actions comes at a cost. The insight here is that there's a fundamental trade-off between productivity and responsiveness. Getting serious work done means minimizing context switches. But being responsive means reacting anytime something comes up. These two principles are fundamentally in tension. Recognizing this tension allows us to decide where we want to strike that balance. The obvious solution is to minimize interruptions. The less obvious one is to group them. If no notification or email requires a response more urgently than once an hour, say, then that's exactly how often you should check them. No more. In computer science, this idea goes by the name of interrupt coalescing. Rather than dealing with things as they come up, oh, the mouse was moved, a key was pressed, more of that file downloaded, the system groups these interruptions together based on how long they can afford to wait. In 2013, interrupt coalescing triggered a massive improvement in laptop battery life. This is because deferring interruptions lets a system check everything at once, then quickly re-enter a low-power state. As with computers, so it is with us. Perhaps adopting a similar approach might allow us users to reclaim our own attention and give us back one of the things that feels so rare in modern life: rest. Are you interested in improving your own time and task management skills? If so, we highly recommend you check out Algorithms to Live By: The Computer Science of Human Decisions. You can download an audio version of the book for free at audible.com/TEDEd, and every free trial created encourages Audible to continue supporting TEDEd's nonprofit mission.
Excellent guidance, and we can keep moving. And I hope, Sudeepa, you got your answer about setting your schedule and how to clear out the most important things one at a time so that you can manage your schedule well and remain on track. Back to presentation. So now let's talk a little bit about scheduling. One needs to create a realistic deadline because you cannot have everything to be done in one time only. You have to stagger it, and depending on the amount of effort and time needed for a given task or a subtask, allocate, make the proper estimate of time which is more realistic, and continue to review as you are moving along, working on that item, and revise the timeline as needed. Always keep in mind you are in charge, not your schedule. And take a look at your schedule, be realistic about what you can accomplish, keeping in mind nobody is a superhuman, not a superman or superwoman. Don't try to juggle too many things, which will set you up for failure. And very important thing to remember, each one of us have a dead time. This is where our mind is not 100% sharp. At that time, you schedule meetings, take the phone calls, and get the low priority mundane stuff out of the way. And normally, this happens right after the lunch, when with the food, your body clock is slowing down and you are not at your prime time. So that's your dead time. You need to prioritize and use that time properly. Now, let's talk about the most difficult subject we all confront, managing the meetings. So, the guidance is question the need and frequency of the meetings. And if you spend all your time during the working hours attending the meeting and meetings and meetings, when will you do your work? And this is where the issue starts. You have to either stay late or take the work home, which will impact the work life balance. And that's not healthy. When there is a deadline, a priority project is under a severe timeline, once or twice, few times you do it, which is okay, but not all the time. So, questioning whether the meeting is needed or not and how frequently the meeting should be held, that is very healthy thing to do. So if you can have an email sent or a message sent out using intranet or internet as appropriate, you don't need to hold the meeting. And the meetings are needed when you need to think about some critical issue where everybody's opinion is needed, and based on the collective guidance and inputs, you can move forward with the right decision to take action. Also, if the meetings are important, there should be agenda in advance. So I had a student in my MBA class here in Chicago area from Honeywell. He mentioned that if the agenda doesn't show up 48 hours in advance in the inbox, you are excused not to attend that meeting. That means it was not a very important meeting. Don't waste time attending it. And only invite people who have some value to add, the right participants. And meeting is not the time to invite your friends to have food, drinks, coffee, tea, and have a chit chat. That's not the place. Place is you are holding a meeting to discuss some important issue and only invite people who have something to contribute to address that issue. And collectively, you will be able to make a decision to move forward. You need to have a facilitator who can keep the discussion moving and keep everybody focused on the agenda and keep the meetings brief. So schedule 60 to 90-minute meeting focused on one issue at a time, and always keep track of the agenda, the decisions, and designated follow-up by having a meeting minutes and send it out in 24 hours. I've seen a best practice where a person who is a note taker or a scribe will keep typing into the computer, into the laptop, what was the agenda, who are the people who have joined, what are the key decisions in a bullet form, with the action item table at the end, item in the chronological order in number wise assigned, to whom, who is the owner, what is the exact item, when it is expected to be completed, the estimate, and that thing gets reviewed at the end of the meeting in the last few minutes, and it's sent out before people leave the meeting. So everybody knows what the action items are, and they can start working on it before the next meeting comes up. During the breaks in between, so if you have a weekly meeting, agenda and all the action items have been sent out right after the meeting. People get at least 6 days to work on their action item and come back and report in the next meeting. And there should be ongoing work outside the meetings. So use at the front end purpose, agenda, and limit, the PAL system. And during the meeting, if you have done well planning, make sure everybody is participating and there is a follow-up during and after the meeting, then it is definitely an effective meeting. Now, if you hold a meeting note shows no action item. In other words, you have to start questioning, was that meeting needed? Without action item coming out of a meeting, that could be a waste of time and it could be an unproductive meeting. So let's talk about few research items. As you move up in the hierarchy of the organization, you spend more and more time in the meetings. So some of the executives and the leaders spend anywhere in the upwards of 80 to 90% of their time in the meetings. And if those meetings are unproductive, think of the waste to the organization, because they are paid heavily, particularly in the corporate side. They get much more money compared to people at the lowest working level. And if their time is wasted in the unproductive meetings, that's a loss to the organization. And other thing to mention is that if you want to hold a 1 hour meeting, the person who is planning it needs to spend on an average 10 hours time to properly plan and use the PAL and PP app to ensure that the effective meeting gets done. So I'll give you one example. We are working with a client in the southern state of the United States, where 7 executives from 4 locations, we are working on ISO 9000 standards quality management review meetings. Normally, according to the standard, they have to do once a year. We're training them by doing once a month. For 2 hours meeting, my partner and myself, we used to spend 40 hours each to prepare the package of the processes we have conducted and evaluated and documented with the metrics on where we are with respect to the status on the improvement and status on the progress of the work for 7 executives in 2 hour meetings, so that they have all the information at their fingertip. They don't have to ask for any more data or wait for decision making. Everything gets decided within 2 hours. And also, we started using the meeting evaluation form, which I'll be sharing shortly. And based on the input, we showed to the executive in the next subsequent meeting that we have made the changes in the meeting format so that their time is effectively spent. So collecting information requires you to take action as well. There's an excellent book by Patrick Lencioni. Title is very enticing, Death by Meeting. He has written a number of books, about 8 to 10. They are all leadership fables, as I mentioned in the day 1 on the leadership excellence program. And those books are very easy to read, 200 plus pages, you can finish in few hours. And at the end of the book, in each of the book, he has a workable model which you can apply right away. So the guidance in terms of the meeting is avoid time waster meeting. Make sure it's working meeting. don't attend unless there is an agenda, always insist on it, which forces the planner to contact the right people, put the right items on the agenda with the objective, what needs to be accomplished. And if you can solve the issue without getting everybody in the meeting, send out email, use the intranet, etc., and always have a proper ending time. I'm sure you may witness people come late, meetings start late, then most of the agenda is not completed. So meeting is incomplete and people are rushing to attend the other meetings, and the current meeting gets rescheduled again to take care of the part of the agenda which never got discussion on it. So telephone meetings, treat the telephone calls during the working hours as a business call and business work. Keep the call short and you stand while taking the call. That way you don't have a tendency to get relaxed and have a unproductive chit chat. Announce the goal if you are the one calling somebody, or if somebody else has called, set the goal for the call. Don't put your feet up on the table, and then you have tendency to get carried away and waste time. And keep something in view so that you can get to it as soon as the call is over. And keep smiling. That is a contagious thing. Even on the phone wire, it will transmit it. Interesting data from Harvard Business Review. What it says is the meetings are the scourge of modern business life, consuming 62 hours per month of employees' time on an average, a full half of which is estimated to be wasted. So 62 hours per month, that means 2 days out of 5, everybody is in the meeting, and exactly half of it, 1 day per week, is the waste of unproductive meeting. Now, as opposed to this, think of Google as a company which allows 1 day out of 5 days to use that as a free thinking time, where people don't have to worry about their immediate work items. They can think of new ideas, new innovation, and create something which is out of the box. And that freedom allows them to come up with many innovative solutions like Google Glass, Google Watch, and things like that came out of those 1 free-day program. So simple rule of thumb I use is when somebody calls me that you need to attend the meeting, I ask simple questions. What is my role? One. Secondly, what is the objective of the meeting and how can I contribute? If I don't see any value in attending the meeting, I just say simply, no, I'm tied up. Kindly stay muted, please. We'll have interaction very soon. So here is a meeting minute sample. Date, time, place, attendees, please stay muted. Thank you. Key discussion in the bullet form, key decisions in the bullet form, and action item. This should be no more than a page or two, max. Less you write, people can read. With the focus on action items. Action item number, date, please stay muted. Please have a courtesy, thank you. Date opened, what is the action item, who owns it, and when it's expected to close. This is very important. If the important meeting is conducted, take the last few minutes at the end of the meeting to evaluate the meeting. It takes only 2-3 minutes. One bullet on things work well. Things did not work well, again 1 or 2 bullets. And things need to change for subsequent meetings, 1 or 2 bullets. Compile all the evaluation you have received from the people who have attended the meeting and summarize it and send it on to all the people. May I request everyone kindly follow the direction by coughing and coming keeping your mic open. You are disrupting the session. And it's a sincere request. Please follow the simple guidance. Stay muted. I feel sorry. Organizing, keep the updated to-do list in a priority order as we talked before. Deal with your paperwork and email only once. Use stage filing method. Electronically, you can create a folder, subfolder, etc., and park things in the appropriate folder. Use your technology very wisely. Organize your workspace depending on your mental model, and manage your calendar well. In other words, don't double book, because you are not going to have your clone going to attend the meeting at the same time. So after this slide, we'll open up for interaction. So delegation is very important thing, and one of the trait of a leader is to delegate things as appropriate, because if you are a leader, you can't do things everything yourself. So you have to find the right people within the team setting and delegate them the right task and subtask as appropriate. So don't delegate if you can eliminate. Delegate appropriately, gradually, and strategically by establishing concrete goals, the deadlines, and the consequences, and showing them what is the importance and what's the timeline. Give them objective, what is expected, not the procedure, how to do it. Macro management, not micromanagement. Communication should be very clear, get it in writing, and show the relative importance of this task. Have some periodic review, and when the work is complete, give them credit and support. And when you invest your time in developing your subordinates, person who is reporting to you, it's a future payoff, because you will be spared from spending time on it, and someone else can do it for you. So at this point, let me stop sharing, and we'll have the interaction. Okay, so we have a faculty from Law College has raised the hand. Go ahead, and then there are some questions already in there, so we'll take those in the order. Professor from Law College, come in, please. Okay, while we are waiting, Surendra, how to set my special goal. So basically, you saw the SMART guidance for setting your time management goal. Use the SMART as a criteria or the metrics. Manish Agarwal and will take the other people's input very quickly. Please point out some practical aspects of work-life balance for middle-level employees. Yeah, so today's topic is highly relevant for managing your work-life balance. If you do set the timeline for items, tasks, and subtasks to be completed with good results, focusing on important things first for the day, at the end of the day, you are able to accomplish what you are set out to do, rather than wasting your time on trivial or non-important items. You don't have to take the work home, and you don't have to stay late in the office. And that is the best thing you can do for your family. When you go home, spend time with the spouse and the children, and enjoy life, and have your battery recharge. So that's the best way to manage your time. Pawan Kumarji, you have a question? Come in, please.
Sir, in continuation of what I asked you when you talked about planning, when we have inefficient people and they're adamant and they don't want to improve, and we have to work with them. That is because of the government or the university, we can't kick them out. What to do in that condition?
So what is the challenge? One more time.
The challenge is that we have to work with those people who are adamant and they don't want to change, whether they are capable or not capable, efficient or inefficient, but they don't want to work. And we have to work with them. And it's a very common problem with every organization. I've worked with the private industry also. Today I'm with the educational institution. But I've seen these kind of people. So in that condition, what should we do?
Yeah. So I'm sure in the private, you know how it gets done.
Yes.
Supervisor gives the guidance that you are not performing well. Use the HR function to document the low performance and the direction given to shape up or shape out. Now, in the education scenario and the government jobs, I don't know what the norm is in India, but here...
No, it's a private college, and people, but we can't say, we can't terminate them. There are rules, regulations, and we have to stay with them.
Yeah, that's what I was asking. If there are rules and regulations, still there should be a performance evaluation system, right, in place, if it is a private or a public school. And if the performance is not there, then the benefits, the salary increase, etc., should be adjusted so that they get the message that unless they do better job, their salary will not increase automatically, depending on what the rules are. So that's one thing. Secondly, sit down one-on-one with the person who is underperforming to find out why the person is not giving full of his or her time. Understand the underlying issue. There could be some family problems because of that. Person comes late, unable to focus, unable to deliver what is expected on a daily basis, and the project gets delayed. So understanding the root causes and then eliminating them or supporting them in the best possible way with your ability and with the ability of the organization, that's the humane approach one need to take. And when you start taking interest in each of your people one at a time, they will reward you very loyally with their full output, and hopefully they will do better and they will get the message simultaneously that you do care about them. You want to make sure that they grow in the field and they continue to progress. So that's
sir, excuse me, sir. In case all these things have been tried and still they are not improving and they are thinking that it is their right to work here and we can't do anything. So
then
in that condition, because...
Yeah, in that case, you need to talk to the higher up and see what is the solution from their perspective, because at the end of the day, highest level of your organization is responsible for the overall performance of the organization. And if
sir,
it is
one more second. Yes, we know the organization, the management knows, but in that case, if they go to court and they try to harass us, I'm a senior most person in my institution, and I'm facing this, and we are really troubled because you are actually doing it for the university UTU, and this is what I really want to know: what to do in that condition.
Yeah, in that case, you need to talk to the vice chancellor, basically, and open the issue and see what the guidance is from the highest person. And I'm sure with their vast experience and knowledge, they can come up with some idea how to avoid these kind of issues and how to address them in an effective way.
Sure, sir, you will understand our agony of the problem because you are so experienced and we are so enlightened. I, being an old person, I try and listen to it and just really, I just pass it on to my students. And I just tell them, thank you so much, sir. Really, it was great.
No problem. You are not old. You are an experienced gentleman, willing to learn and
No,
provide.
sir. I am from Delhi University. Worked with Lupin during those days when it was white collar job, and
Yeah.
was manager, and then done business and all everything. So many things. Uh, I appreciate you, sir. You are so great. Thank you so much,
Thank
sir.
you. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure. And
Yeah.
if we can make at least one or two people to change the way they have done things, then all this effort is worth it. So thank you, Pawan
Sir,
Kumar.
it is this our institute, SC Guria Institute of Management and Technology. It is situated in Kashipur. Whenever you come to Kashipur, most welcome
Yeah.
to our
Thank
institute.
you. Thank you for your kind invite.
Sir,
So
sir, that's all.
thank you.
Great, sir.
Thank you, Pawan Kumarji. Appreciate it. Okay, any more questions or comments in the chat box? Please come in and go on a mute, Pawan Kumarji. Thank you. Anyone for discussion so far? If not, I'll go back and start wrapping it up. Very important item, learn when to say no. So metaphor here is you are sitting down for a lunch or a dinner and you like few things well and you enjoy certain things. So person who is serving will keep giving you more and more and more of that item. Now your plate is full. Will you take any more of the item you like or you just say no? That's what exactly how we need to manage our time and taking on the task when our plate is full, keeping in mind that we can't do everything on a given day. You already have made a schedule, you have prioritized your item, most important items are sitting at the top, and you need to start moving to get things done. Somebody comes along, either it's you're the boss or a colleague or a subordinate comes and asks for your help, knowing fully well that your plate is full. If you accept that, you are doing injustice to yourself and to the person with whom you are interacting. In that situation, you need to really be consistent with your goals for the day by recognizing your limit. Take few seconds, 30 seconds, 40 seconds, and give honest opinion and be vocal about why you cannot take on more things that day or at that time. And defer it to take turn next time whenever you have a ability to take on additional thing. And when you are in doubt, work with your higher up to get the priorities straight and don't keep on taking more things. And one of the simple rule of project management is under promise and over deliver. If you do the reverse way, over promise and under deliver, people will really figure out that you talk too much but no ability to deliver. So always under promise, over deliver. And this is good for yourself. This will help you in managing your work life balance. Handling interruptions when you have a crucial deadline on a project, make yourself inaccessible. So if you're sitting in an office or in a cubicle, put out a note outside that I'm indisposable for a week or 10 days or a few days on important project. And if somebody needs to be uh, reaching out to you through email or a phone, just tell them that when my time is open after the critical project, we'll sit down and take care of your item. And do not get sort of sucked into your self interruptions, the internal interruptions, and make sure that the external interruption do not happen. Avoiding procrastination. This applies to all of us. Things we don't want to do, we keep piling it up. We'll do it sometimes whenever we get to it. but that doesn't solve the issue. So, two things we need to think about. One, doing the things at the last minute is very much expensive than just before the last minute. So, nobody works best under the pressure. And keep in mind, emergency on your part does not become urgency to someone else's part. And deadlines are very important. So establish yourself. And in terms of avoiding procrastination, take a list of all the items you have delayed, prioritize them, and try to get one item done every day. Pretty soon, your long list will be depleted and you will feel less stress and less burden. And don't try to be perfectionist. So, in the organization, as I mentioned upfront, that success in workplace comes through collaboration and teamwork. And teamwork is the topic of next session on Wednesday, the 3rd of May. Making good use of ideas of the others are very important, and asking for help when you need it. Now, coming from India with the Eastern culture, I always was hesitant to ask for help here. But here in the Western world, they appreciate when you ask for help, and people are willing to help you when you go to them, approach them, and explain to them why you need help. And that is the way to grow rather than doing everything yourself. Look for help when you are stuck and when you don't have the expertise in that area. And using somebody else's good work, borrowing models and templates from other sources will allow you to leapfrog your progress rather than keep reinventing the wheel. You can get the ideas of the others, give them credit, and use them. I mentioned about dead time. So, on the flip side, what is your personal prime time? Is it morning, evening, or late night? So, generally, people who are in the computer science and engineering area, particularly students I have seen at the campus at IDBHU, they are up until 2 or 3 in the morning. Uh, I'm very productive few hours in the morning after the breakfast, and I already finished my little bit of exercise in the morning and done some walking. Then I'm fully charged. Afternoon, late afternoon before dinner, I am also in the prime time and get a lot of things done. And some things after dinner, if it is important, then I get to it. So few pockets during the day. So you need to find your creative or thinking time and use it properly and don't allow any interruptions during that time. So remembering upfront, we mentioned that 20% of the work you do in the prime time will get you 80% of your results. Multitasking and making better use of downtime. So if you are traveling in a public transport or waiting at the doctor's office, waiting to get the plane or a train while you are on a hold on the telephone, or when you arrive early for the appointment, have a notebook and a pen with you and jot down some ideas on the issues you are thinking about and working on. Make better use of the downtime. So I came across a very nice definition of time. So let me read it for the benefit of everyone. Time is slow when you wait. Time is fast when you are late. Time is deadly when you are sad. Time is short when you are happy. Time is endless when you are in pain. Time is long when you feel bored. Every time is determined by your feelings and your psychological conditions and not by the clock. So have a nice time always. So let's summarize the presentation. One need to set the goals using smart criteria for managing your time, prioritize the items most important first, organize yourself so you can get to things very quickly, learn when to say no, your plate is full, you cannot handle any more of it, use your waiting time properly. Important to concentrate on the task at hand, one task at a time, and finish it and keep moving to the next important task. Use personal prime time very effectively, 80-20 rule. And when you have accomplished your most important items for the day, celebrate the success at the end of the day. So during on 18th of March 2016, while visiting India, Swami Nikhilesh is shown in the top right picture in the middle. He was with the Ramakrishna Mission Vadodara. Currently is Adhyaksh at the Ramakrishna Mission in Rajkot. He took me to Gandhinagar, capital of Gujarat, at the BISEC studio, where Commissioner of Higher Education, Mr. A.J. Shah, shown in white shirt, he is now retired. He gave me 45 minutes to talk about effective time management, where via satellite we connected with 450 colleges. And in that presentation, 5 lakhs, half a million students and faculty joined online, and they benefited from the program. That time management, essentially the entire presentation which I have covered today, was also recorded professionally, and YouTube link is shown. So your commitment to time management, two key takeaways. And today we will begin this process. After clearing any questions, at least we'll take one key takeaway from each of the people who are on the call through the chat box. So we have covered three topics so far. So we have finished halfway of the 6 sessions. Next session, as I mentioned, 3rd of May, effective teamwork continuing series. And next week, we take effective project management and career development guidance. Same time, 8:30 to 10:30 IST. And now we are ready to take questions, comments, and key takeaways. And I'll open the chat. Okay, any questions, please start using the chat box. It will be very helpful for me to look at the question and answer them.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, go ahead, Sandeep Kumarji.
As you shared your last slide, that is summary one, in that you mentioned near about 8 points: goal set and organize, learn when to say no. Now, this is a very important point: learn when to say no. So, no is a very important point where we have to say no. So, how we can judge and decide where we have to say this word no?
Yeah. Yeah, so the question is when to say no, and this is where you have to take a look at your own priority, own goals you have set, and own important items you have to finish for the day. So the scenario I was painting was you have already have a plan for the day, you have started working on your important item, and all of a sudden interruptions comes asking for help. So it could be your boss, subordinate, or a peer. Now, one thing is very clear, that your plate is full. You need to be honest and direct in terms of saying no, why you are not able to tackle any additional thing that day, that you have two important items need to accomplish to carry the project forward. Other people are waiting for your output so that they can finish their part of the work. And you need to clearly state those things, including to your boss as well. And people are sensible. And other comment, if you notice that if somebody is looking for your help, they cannot wait until the last minute. They have to let you know ahead of time what is their expectation and what they need from you in what time frame. They cannot just drop in at the last minute and disturb you or interrupt you from your work. And that is how you manage it. So be honest to yourself. Do not take on additional thing knowing fully well by saying yes, you are not able to get to it. And you can only do it by sacrificing your own important thing, which will essentially give you bad marks with your supervisor for not completing the things on time. So honesty, understanding your own priority, and if there is no slack time, don't take on additional things and tell no. Simply, I cannot do it. It will, the person will feel bad, but they will get the message that you have explained to the person why you cannot take further things at that time. Hope that makes sense.
Done, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Any additional questions or comments? And now we have a time, so let's have a habit of putting in the chat box one key takeaway. What did you get? One thing out of it, the presentation today, which will help you to move forward managing your time. One key takeaway. We have 19 people, so about 18 other people can at least put in their input. And are there any questions from the YouTube live?
No, sir, we don't have any questions.
Okay. Let's take time. We have at least 17 minutes left. One key takeaway in the chat box, please. And that developing that habit is very critical. It'll force you to make up your mind what did you learn out of the program today and what will you take it back and start applying. So one key takeaway, please. And Sandeep Kumarji, you can lead the pack and then we can ask others to put it in the chat. One key takeaway.
Done, sir.
Yeah, know at the appropriate time and use best of time. Thank you very much.
I request all the listeners to please share their one of the takeaway of the today, as our professor is willing to know that what you learned as you attended the session. I request to Kanchan Kumari, Professor Kanchan Kumari, please share your one takeaway. Manish Agarwal ji. Madam Kanchan Kumari, you are listening me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I am listening you.
Yes. Can you share your one takeaway for the today in the chat box, please?
Yes, sure.
Manish ji, you can also share in the chat box. Please switch off your mic. You can share in the chat box.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Thank you, Sandeep Kumarji, for asking others to write down their key takeaway. I think this is the kind of discipline we all need to develop. So if you're spending 2 hours to listen to a certain program, there should be a desire to pick up one or two key takeaways from the program and take it forward by applying it in your work situation. Even if you are a student, you can apply it in your studies. If you are faculty, you can do it to help your students. If you are a professionals, you can put it in your work actions, etc. And this is how we learn. Only listening doesn't help you. You have to act on what you have listened to and apply certain things. Not everything may work for you, but you learn from it and keep moving. Okay, so Manishji, great experience listening, an amazing speaker. So thank you very much. But what's your key takeaway? That's what we want to know.
Manish Kumarji, in words, we are willing to know that what is your learning outcome for the session. Manishji, please.
And while we are waiting, others can write down their short one key takeaway in the chat box. And I hope we are not asking for too much. It's okay. Professor Kanchan Kumari ji learned the value of time as it is very precious and also learned to say no when required. Yeah, thank you very much. Others learn from it as well. Ahmed Faisal Akram, scheduling the time appropriately. Yes, know your time and how to divide it properly. It's very important. And then
Rubina Anjum, you are connected. Rubina Anjum. Shivani Sharoha, you are connected with us. Rubina, you are getting my voice, beta? Rubina Anjum.
Manishji, time management techniques related to meeting schedule and learn to say no. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your insight. Thank you, Manishji. Okay, I think it's kind of slow to
Done.
come. We will close the session. We don't want to let everybody waiting for it. So let's do the closing. Yeah, Devanshu Purohit, do decide to delegate and delete it in a what decision to take, etc. So one more came in. Let me go back to the Devanshu Purohit, decide to delegate and delete. Very handy deciding what decision to take and when to take it. Thank you. Geeta, Lalita, goal setting, planning, and prioritizing. Okay, wonderful. All right, let's do the closing so we don't have to keep waiting for things. So we are 10 minutes early. And that is the better use of time for taking rest.
Thanks to all. Today's session was well received and I personally enjoyed it very much. I would like to thank you for the time and effort you invested in preparation for this session. Thank you very much, sir, for your gracious presence and motivational words. Thank you all.
Yeah. Thank you, Ajadji. Appreciate your help as well. And let's make use of the precious time we all have and do the best we can under all the circumstances. So, a lot of learning and key is action. So, we'll meet on Wednesday, the 3rd of May, on another important topic of effective teamwork. So, until then, let's sign off. Thank you. Bye bye.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you, Professor Sir. Thank you.
Bye, Sandeep Kumarji. Bye.
Thank you very much, sir.